officer. Before we get into this amazing narrative, James Carter had been on the force for 10 years and had witnessed a wide range of things, including deadly criminals, reckless drivers, and stolen automobiles. However, nothing had ever made his hand shake or his heart stop. Leave a comment below with your viewing location, subscribe to the channel, and enable notifications. Now let's get started, Bill. It was a calm evening, the road was largely deserted, and he sat in his patrol car waiting for something to happen when it made a rusty red sedan and sped past a stop sign without slowing down. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. The driver didn't stop immediately. Instead, the car veered slightly, pausing for a time before ultimately pulling over to the side of the road. James's eyes tightened as he turned on his sirens and proceeded onto the road, his police lights flashing against the lowering sky. James stopped behind the siding, unbuckled his seatbelt, and got out after seeing that the car wobbled almost, as if the driver was anxious or apprehensive about stopping. His senses told him something wasn't right. He adjusted his belt. He wasn't expecting trouble, but he had learned long ago never to let his guard down as he approached the driver's window. He glanced at the license plate. Nothing unusual. The car itself looked old, but well-maintained the kind. A vehicle that had seen years of wear but was still running. The window rolled down. James leaned in slightly, ready to ask for the driver's license and registration, but then he froze, his breath caught in his throat. He forgot what he was about to say. The woman sitting in the driver's seat had a tattoo on her wrist, a small black crescent moon with 3 tiny stars above it. James's stomach twisted. That tattoo. He knew that tattoo. His little sister Lily had that exact design. It was the one thing she had begged their mother for when she was 5 years old, a temporary tattoo at first, then a real one when she turned 10. She had been so proud of it she had shown it off to everyone, and then she was gone. 15 years ago, taken, vanished. James had spent years searching for her, looking through every missing person case, every record and every lead, but no one had seen her or heard from her. Now she was sitting in front of him, or was she? She appeared to be in her mid-20s with wavy brown hair that hung over her shoulders and deep brown eyes that were filled with something he couldn't quite place. She appeared nervous, gripping the steering wheel a little too tightly. Could this be her, or was this just a horrible, impossible coincidence? Where did you acquire that tattoo? His voice sounded scratchy, almost trembling. The lady paused for a moment, her eyes darting to her wrist, as if she had forgotten the tattoo was there, then suppressed her words, just above a whisper. Her face twisted, her eyes flickering with something fearful and confused. "I've had it my entire life," she whispered. The words hit James like a kick to the gut. This couldn't be true. His little sister had been missing for 15 years. One minute she was playing in the backyard, the next she was gone. His family had looked, prayed, and begged for answers. But nothing came up. Now a woman with the same tattoo sat in front of him. He had to remain professional and follow protocol, but his mind was screaming for answers. "Step out of the car, please," he said in a tight voice. She didn't move at first. Her eyes darted to the side mirror, then to her lap, and then back at James. Slowly she reached for the door handle. Her hesitation made his skin prickle, but it wasn't just fear. There was something deeper, something buried. James opened the door and stepped out, studying her face. Something familiar. His pulse pounded in his ears. Could it really be her? The woman shifted uneasily beneath his stairway, crossing her arms and tucking her hands under her elbows as if to make herself smaller. Her shoulders were tense, her breathing was shallow. James attempted to regain his composure by realizing that he needed to ask more questions to find out who she was. But before he could say another word, the woman's face changed. Her eyes widened, and her lips parted slightly, as if something inside of her suddenly came to a terrifying realization, and then she abruptly turned and ran. No pause, no second glance, just pure desperation as she fled into the woods with her feet kicking up gravel, James's heart leaking. "Get away." James reacted immediately. His training kicked in and he took off after her, his boots pounding against the pavement. She was faster than he had anticipated, weaving between the trees, her movements sharp and practiced like someone who had run for their life before James pushed harder. Branches whipped past his face, leaves crunching beneath his feet. This was different. This wasn't just about the law, this was a personal stop. He called out, "I just want to talk." But she didn't listen. She ran like someone who had done this before, dodging trees, leaping over fallen hair, and she knew how to move quickly and disappear. But James had trained for this. He was stronger and faster. He pushed forward, closing the gap, and she twisted, trying to yanking free. But he held on, forcing her to face him. "Letting me go." She screamed, her breath strained down her face, her body trembling. James remained, strong but relaxed his hold. He only sought answers and wasn't there to harm her. He tried to speak steadily as he replied, "Look at me." She stumbled for a second longer before freezing, and her gaze quickly shot to his face. James could see it now. Her eyes, nose, and chin shape were the same characteristics he had seen every day in the mirror. His mother's features made his breath catch in his throat. His pulse raced and his words came out in a whisper as the woman's cries became more intense. She looked at him while her shoulders trembled. Her expression was filled with uncertainty, and she sobbed, "That's not my name." James swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on him. "It was your name," he said softly, "before you were taken." Her body stiffened, her hands curled into fists. Something flickered in her eyes like a door cracking open. "No." She muttered again, shaking her head, but her voice trembled. James could see the battle going on inside her, where one part of her resisted, while another part seemed to be searching for something just out of reach. Then abruptly she gasped, clutching her head and buckling her knees. Her breathing came in quick, irregular spurts as James reached out to settle her and brought back memories. She was playing with a young boy in the backyard, and then darkness's hands grabbed her and a rough voice whispered in her ear. Her body shook violently and she screamed, but James held her arms gently and reassured her that it was okay. He said, "I've been looking for you my whole life," and she stared at him with trembling lips and tears streaming down her face. Just as she opened her mouth to speak, a gunshot rang through the air and James responded immediately, pushing her down and protecting her with his body. His heart raced and his ears rang, signaling that someone was nearby. "You ought to have let her go," when a voice resounded through the forest. James's blood froze as he slowly turned his head and saw a shadowy man with a pistol in the distance. James gripped his holster tighter, but this wasn't over. He struck the ground and pulled her down with him, his pulse racing as he looked about. In the dark, there was someone out there. A person went ahead when a shadow passed between the trees. A man with scars on his face, wearing a black cloak, lifted his gun. "No one takes her. The man grew up and she is mine. His eyes are hard and harsh." With his jaw clenched, James tightened his hold on his own weapon. "She's not yours." James grinned and said, "She doesn't even remember who she is, do you, sweetheart?" His voice was calm, but his palms were burning with wrath. James saw that the lady next to him was tight, so he tilted his head slightly. Her fingers were digging into the ground and her breathing was labored. "Don't listen to him." James responded, "I'm lying." And the man laughed softly as he stepped closer and gently raised the pistol. "She was mine for a long time before you ever realized she was gone." James's abdomen. James knew he just had a few seconds to act, but his instincts urged him to wait and analyze. The guy's finger jerked close to the trigger. Twisted. How long had this man had her? How much had she suffered? The man's body jerked as James fired the first perfect shot, and his gun slipped out of his grasp and hit the ground with a dull thud. He staggered back, clutching his chest, and let out a low moan before collapsing, and then there was silence. James kept his gun raised, his breath was short and his pulse pounded in his ears as he watched the man's body, waiting for movement. But nothing happened. The forest stood still. The woman's labored breathing was the only sound audible. James let out a breath and turned to face her. She was frozen in place, gazing at the guy, and he murmured quietly, "You're safe now." She glanced at him, her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Tears filled her eyes as James touched her shoulder and said, "Let's go home." She winced at the name and her head trembled a little. He had located her, but the memories and the truth were all buried under years of something he didn't yet understand. She blinked her breath erratically. Then slowly she looked at him again. Something changed in her eyes, and a single word escaped her lips so softly that James nearly missed it. As she crashed against him, James felt the air leave his lungs and placed his arms around her, holding her close until he finally broke free from his own sobs. James knew deep down that even though she was here after 15 years of nightmares, the darkness that had stolen her life was still out there. Thank you for watching, and if you liked this video, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe for more incredible content. You can also turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section below, and I'll see you in the next one.